You still fight?
Yes, I do.
You still dangerous?
Steven Seagal's name used to be synonymous with strength, power, and invincibility. He was the action hero everyone admired, the martial artist who seemed unstoppable on screen. With his iconic films and intense on-screen presence, it seemed like nothing could shake his position in Hollywood. But behind the scenes, things took a tragic turn. The man who once stood at the top of the world fell from grace in a way that no one could have predicted. His career, his reputation, and his life slowly crumbled, leaving behind a story that is as heart-wrenching as it is mysterious. The truth behind what happened to Steven Seagal is not just shocking. It's a reminder of how fragile fame can be, and how quickly everything can be lost. What seemed like a dream come true turned into a nightmare, and the world was left wondering, how did it all go so wrong? The story of Steven Seagal is more than just a tale of Hollywood. It's a tragedy that reveals the hidden cost of fame, power, and a life that was once larger than life itself. Childhood and early interests. Born on April 10, 1952 in Lansing, Michigan, Steven Seagal grew up in a quiet middle-class family. His father, Samuel, was a high school math teacher, and his mother, Patricia, worked as a medical technician. Seagal wasn't always the towering, confident figure we recognize today. In fact, as a young boy, he was frail, asthmatic, and far from the image of the martial arts action hero he would later become. But who would have guessed that this shy, sickly boy would one day become an Aikido master and an international action star? When Steven was 5 years old, his family moved to Fullerton, California, where he would discover the two passions that would shape his life: martial arts and music. Around the age of 7, Seagal began learning karate, and it wasn't long before he became obsessed with martial arts. By the time he was a teenager, he had developed into a determined and disciplined young man. A pivotal moment came when a Japanese chef at a local restaurant noticed Seagal's interest in martial arts and encouraged him to pursue Aikido, a lesser-known but elegant and spiritual martial art. Seagal dove headfirst into his training, impressing mentors with his intense focus. His interest in Japanese culture deepened, and in his early 20s, he made a bold decision that would set the stage for his future. How many young men pack their bags and move halfway across the world to master a martial art? That's exactly what Steven did. In the early 1970s, Seagal moved to Japan, a land of tradition, discipline, and martial arts mastery. While there, he trained under some of the greatest Aikido masters of the time, earning a black belt and becoming fluent in Japanese. He wasn't just a tourist. Seagal immersed himself in Japanese culture, marrying his first wife, Miyako Fujitani, who came from a respected family of martial artists. Together, they ran an Aikido dojo in Osaka, making Seagal one of the first Westerners to teach Aikido in Japan. His time in Japan not only honed his martial arts skills, but also shaped his persona, a stoic, disciplined man who commanded respect with just a glance. Transition to Hollywood. After spending nearly a decade in Japan, Seagal returned to the United States with a wealth of martial arts knowledge and an enigmatic aura that seemed tailor-made for the silver screen. But the transition wasn't immediate. In the early 1980s, he worked as a martial arts instructor, training some of Hollywood's elite, including Sean Connery and Michael Ovitz. It was Ovitz, a powerful Hollywood agent, who saw Seagal's potential and helped him land his first film deal. Hollywood loves a good origin story, and Seagal's real-life experience as a martial artist who lived in Japan was too good to pass up. In 1988, Steven Seagal made his film debut with Above the Law, also known as Nico in some countries. The film was a smashing success, showcasing Seagal's Aikido skills and setting him apart from other action stars of the time. Unlike the muscle-bound heroes like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, Seagal brought something new to the table: a sleek, efficient fighting style rooted in real martial arts techniques. Following the success of Above the Law, Seagal became Hollywood's newest action hero. Over the next few years, he starred in a string of hits, including Hard to Kill, 1990, Marked for Death, 1990, and Out for Justice, 1991. But it was Under Siege, 1992, that cemented his place as a global star. In the film, Seagal played Casey Ryback, a former Navy SEAL turned cook, who thwarts a terrorist plot on a battleship. The movie was a box office juggernaut, grossing over $156 million worldwide. Who could forget that epic knife fight in Under Siege? Seagal's unique style of blending martial arts with bone-crunching action had audiences on the edge of their seats. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, Steven Seagal wasn't just an action star, he was a phenomenon. His characters were tough, mysterious, and unyielding, always ready to take down a room full of bad guys without breaking a sweat. But what truly set him apart was his persona. He didn't just punch and kick. He moved with an almost meditative calmness, making his on-screen fights look effortless yet deadly. Action heroes come and go, but Seagal's stoic, almost mystical persona left a mark that still resonates with fans of the genre. Seagal's films appealed to audiences looking for something different in their action heroes. He didn't yell or posture. Instead, his quiet intensity and spiritual undertones gave him an edge. His commitment to Aikido principles, using an opponent's energy against them, brought authenticity to his fight scenes. Beyond the fights, Seagal's films often explored themes of justice, corruption, and revenge. His characters weren't just action heroes. They were men with a purpose, standing up against crime and oppression. This blend of martial arts, moral undertones, and pure adrenaline made his movies a staple of the era. For a generation of action fans, Seagal was more than an actor. He was a symbol of justice wrapped in a black leather jacket. Seagal also had a distinct look and style that became iconic. His slicked-back ponytail, deep voice, and piercing gaze made him instantly recognizable. Fans imitated his moves, quoted his one-liners, and celebrated his no-nonsense approach to action. By the mid-1990s, Seagal had solidified his place in pop culture. He wasn't just a star, he was a genre unto himself. His films influenced countless martial arts movies that followed, and his unique style set a standard for what a martial artist turned actor could achieve. Shifts in popularity. In the late 80s and early 90s, Steven Seagal was the embodiment of cool. His effortless Aikido moves, stoic demeanor, and no-nonsense characters captivated audiences. Films like Under Siege made him an action hero who stood out in a crowded field of Schwarzeneggers and Stallones. But something shifted as the decade progressed. By the mid-1990s, Hollywood action films began to evolve. Audiences craved something new. Films with complex characters, emotional depth, and cutting-edge effects. Enter stars like Will Smith in Independence Day and Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, who redefined the action genre. Seagal, by contrast, stuck to his formula, the lone, unbeatable hero taking down corrupt systems. But here's the real question. Why didn't Seagal change with the times? Was it stubbornness or a belief that his old formula would always work? Whatever the reason, his refusal to adapt left him behind. With each new release, audiences became less enthusiastic, and the box office numbers told the same story. His stoic persona, once his greatest strength, now felt one-dimensional in a world that demanded more. What happens when a star refuses to evolve in an industry that thrives on change? Accusations and allegations. As Seagal's career began to wane, troubling allegations started to emerge. In 1998, actress Jenny McCarthy alleged that Seagal had asked her to undress during an audition for Under Siege 2. At the time, the entertainment industry wasn't as openly critical of such behavior as it is today. But McCarthy's story planted the first seeds of doubt about Seagal's off-screen conduct. Over the years, more women came forward with similar allegations, each one chipping away at his public image. These accusations ranged from inappropriate comments to outright harassment. One particularly high-profile case came in 2010 when a former personal assistant, Caden Guyen, sued Seagal, accusing him of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment. While some of these cases were dismissed or quietly settled, they painted a troubling picture of a man once idolized by millions. And yet, the allegations didn't stop there. Beyond personal misconduct, Seagal became known for making grandiose claims about his life. Did he really work as a CIA operative, as he often hinted? Did he train elite forces around the world as he suggested? These tales, which once added to his mystique, now felt like desperate attempts to stay relevant. Were these allegations the cracks in his armor, or the revelation of who Steven Seagal truly was behind the scenes? strained relationships. Even before the controversies surfaced, whispers about Seagal's difficult behavior on set were common. Over the years, these whispers turned into full-blown stories, tarnishing his professional reputation. Director John Gray, who worked with Seagal on The Glimmer Man, once described him as unpredictable and unwilling to collaborate. Similarly, John Leguizamo, a co-star in Executive Decision, recounted an incident where Seagal physically shoved him during rehearsals, declaring, "I'm in charge here." The behind-the-scenes drama wasn't limited to co-stars. In 2002, producer Julius R. Nasso, who had collaborated with Seagal on several films, filed a lawsuit against him. Nasso accused Seagal of backing out of contractual obligations and described him as unmanageable. The lawsuit painted a damning picture of Seagal's professional conduct and strained his relationships within the industry. Perhaps the most infamous account came from Seagal's brief stint as a host on Saturday Night Live. Cast members described him as humorless, difficult to work with, and unwilling to participate fully in sketches. Comedian David Spade later called him the worst host ever. But the question remains, how did a man so revered for his on-screen discipline develop such a reputation for chaos behind the scenes? Was it the pressure of fame, or had his ego grown too large to accommodate others? Impact on reputation. By the early 2000s, Steven Seagal's name no longer carried the weight it once did. His films, now relegated to the direct-to-video market, became synonymous with low-budget mediocrity. Critics often pointed out his lack of enthusiasm in these roles, and his physical appearance, once lean and intimidating, became a point of ridicule. The allegations and on-set behavior didn't just affect his career, they fundamentally altered how the public saw him. Where audiences once saw an action hero, they now saw a man dogged by controversy and unwilling to change. The rise of internet culture further amplified this shift. Seagal became a meme, his stoic expressions and over-the-top claims mocked in countless online videos and forums. Yet, even as his reputation crumbled, Seagal retained a loyal fan base. Some continued to admire his early work, choosing to separate the man from the controversies. Others, however, couldn't overlook the mounting evidence of his unprofessionalism and personal misconduct. The ultimate question, though, is whether Seagal could have salvaged his reputation. Was there a moment where he could have apologized, changed course, and regained Hollywood's trust? Or was his fall inevitable, the result of years of unchecked behavior? The unanswered questions. Steven Seagal's career decline is more than just a story of shifting trends and allegations. It's a reflection of the complexities of fame. Was his downfall a product of his own choices, or did Hollywood turn its back on him? Could he have saved his legacy, or was he always destined to fall? For fans, these questions remain unanswered. What happened to Steven Seagal is beyond heartbreaking, not just because of what he lost, but because of what he could have been. Is Steven Seagal a victim of changing times, or the architect of his own demise? As the new millennium approached, Seagal's box office appeal waned. The gritty, old-school action hero mold he personified had given way to slicker, ensemble-driven blockbusters. Faced with diminishing offers from major studios, Seagal pivoted to the direct-to-video, DTV market, a realm where budget constraints and simpler storytelling were the norm. From the early 2000s onward, Seagal became a prolific figure in the DTV world, starring in titles like Belly of the Beast, 2003, Out of Reach, 2004, and Urban Justice, 2007. These films, while often criticized for their repetitive plots and low production value, catered to a niche audience that craved no-frills action. Fans still loyal to Seagal relished the familiar sight of him taking down bad guys with his signature Aikido moves, even if the action now came with obvious stunt doubles and questionable editing. Yet, even within this niche, Seagal's reception was mixed. Critics lambasted his seeming lack of effort. His performances often appeared flat, with dialogue delivered in a near whisper. Many viewers also noted his minimal physical involvement in fight scenes, a sharp contrast to his earlier, more dynamic performances. Despite these criticisms, the DTV era gave Seagal a second wind, allowing him to remain active in the industry, albeit outside the mainstream spotlight. From action hero to lawman, just when people thought Seagal's career might quietly fade away, he surprised everyone with an unexpected turn. In 2009, he starred in Steven Seagal, Lawman, a reality TV show that promised to reveal another side of the action star. The series followed Seagal as a reserve deputy sheriff in Jefferson Parish, Louisiana, showcasing his real-life law enforcement work. This wasn't a gimmick. Seagal had reportedly been involved in police work for years, though his exact credentials and level of involvement were often questioned. The show blended dramatic reenactments with live-action arrests, featuring Seagal as a stoic, larger-than-life officer. "I'm just a simple guy trying to protect the people," Seagal would say, his trademark deadpan delivery intact. Steven Seagal, Lawman attracted curiosity and skepticism in equal measure. For some fans, it was a chance to see their action hero in a real-world role, blending his fictional badassery with reality. Others, however, couldn't help but find the concept bizarre, with critics describing the show as unintentionally comedic. The show ran for 3 seasons, but wasn't without controversy. Allegations of police misconduct during filming tarnished its reputation, and Seagal's on-camera persona as an infallible enforcer sometimes felt more like a movie character than a real officer. Nevertheless, the show added another unexpected chapter to Seagal's career and reinforced his knack for reinvention. The bluesman emerges. If reality TV seemed like a strange move, Steven Seagal's next reinvention was downright head-scratching. While fans knew him as an action star, Seagal had a deep passion for music, specifically the blues. Over the years, he picked up a guitar and began performing, even releasing 2 studio albums, Songs from the Crystal Cave, 2005, and Mojo Priest, 2006. Seagal's foray into music revealed yet another layer of his personality. His songs featured soulful guitar riffs and lyrics that were a mix of heartfelt and eccentric. Tracks like Don't You Cry showcased his musical talent, while others were peppered with philosophical musings that felt uniquely Seagal-esque. Despite his obvious enthusiasm, the reception to his music was lukewarm. Critics found his albums to be sincere but unremarkable, with some noting that his performances often felt overshadowed by his larger-than-life persona. Nevertheless, Seagal embarked on tours, performing live for small but dedicated audiences. His deep, gravelly voice and earnest guitar playing might not have won over the masses, but it added another dimension to his image. In the age of social media and fan conventions, many aging stars have found ways to rekindle their relationships with fans. Steven Seagal tried his hand at this too, but with limited success. Seagal's appearances at fan conventions have been a mixed bag. While some fans were thrilled to meet their idol in person, others found his demeanor off-putting. Reports surfaced of Seagal appearing aloof or disinterested during autograph sessions, which disappointed attendees who had spent significant money to meet him. On social media, Seagal's attempts to connect often veered into awkward territory. His posts were sporadic and sometimes felt out of touch, with promotional content overshadowing genuine interaction. A few viral moments, such as a bizarrely edited video of him promoting his Aikido moves, didn't help his case, often becoming the butt of internet jokes rather than bolstering his image. Despite these struggles, Seagal's loyal fan base continues to support him, proving that even in the face of missteps, there's a lingering affection for the action star of yesteryear. Legal challenges. Seagal's legal battles read like the script of a gripping courtroom drama. Over the years, he has faced a number of lawsuits and accusations that chipped away at his reputation. One of the most high-profile cases against him came in 2010, when a former assistant filed a lawsuit accusing Seagal of sexual harassment and illegal trafficking. According to the lawsuit, the assistant alleged that Seagal had created a hostile work environment and made inappropriate advances. While the case was eventually dismissed, the damage to Seagal's public image was significant. Fans who once saw him as a hero began questioning his off-screen persona. In addition to workplace misconduct allegations, Seagal was accused of mistreatment and unprofessional behavior by several co-workers. Directors and actors reported instances of Seagal refusing to follow scripts, showing up late, or clashing with crew members. Although these aren't crimes, such accusations painted a picture of someone difficult to work with, a far cry from the disciplined martial artist fans admired on screen. Seagal's legal woes didn't stop there. In 2020, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, charged him with failing to disclose payments he received for promoting a cryptocurrency investment. Seagal had been paid $250,000 in cash and promised $750,000 worth of tokens for endorsing the company on social media, but he failed to inform his followers that it was a paid promotion. The SEC fined him $314,000 and barred him from promoting securities for 3 years. This cryptocurrency scandal added another layer to Seagal's already complicated reputation. Fans were left wondering, was this the same man who once stood up for justice in his films? How did Steven Seagal go from Hollywood action hero to facing financial scandals? International controversies. Perhaps the most baffling chapter in Seagal's life is his close relationship with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Over the past decade, Seagal has frequently made headlines for his outspoken admiration of Putin, describing him as one of the greatest leaders in the world. This friendship has raised eyebrows not just in Hollywood, but also among political observers. In 2016, Putin granted Seagal Russian citizenship in what appeared to be a symbolic gesture of friendship. Seagal was also appointed as a special representative for Russia to the United States in 2018, tasked with improving US-Russia cultural relations. However, this role was largely seen as ceremonial and did little to repair the strained relations between the two nations. Seagal's ties to Russia came under scrutiny as geopolitical tensions escalated. Critics accused him of cozying up to a leader widely condemned for human rights violations and aggressive foreign policies. In the wake of Russia's controversial actions on the global stage, Seagal's unflinching support for Putin left many of his fans disillusioned. When did the martial arts icon become a diplomat? And at what cost to his Hollywood legacy? Even beyond his friendship with Putin, Seagal's international behavior has drawn criticism. In 2014, he performed at a concert organized by pro-Russian separatists in Crimea, shortly after Russia annexed the region. This move was widely criticized in the West, with many seeing it as a political endorsement of Putin's controversial actions. For fans in the United States and Europe, this was another blow to Seagal's once impeccable image. Polarized, Seagal's political alliances and legal troubles have divided his audience into two distinct camps. For some, his actions, both in courtrooms and on the international stage, have irreparably damaged his legacy. These fans see Seagal as a cautionary tale, a celebrity whose hubris led to his downfall. However, there remains a loyal group of fans who continue to defend him. For these supporters, Seagal's actions are misunderstood or overblown by the media. They argue that his close ties to Russia reflect a genuine interest in fostering peace and cultural exchange, rather than any malicious intent. This divide is particularly evident on social media, where discussions about Seagal often ignite fierce debates. Some fans lament his fall from grace, while others argue that his critics are unfairly targeting him. This polarization has made it difficult for Seagal to stage a meaningful comeback, as he remains a controversial figure in the eyes of many. Can a star with a tarnished reputation ever shine again? Amid all the legal challenges and political controversies, it's important to remember that Steven Seagal is a human being. His story, while sensational, is also deeply human. A tale of a man who soared to incredible heights, only to face profound struggles. It's easy to judge from the outside, but Seagal's journey raises questions about the pressures of fame and the choices celebrities must navigate in the spotlight. Is Steven Seagal's story a fall from grace, or a chance for redemption? As fans and observers, we may never know the full truth behind the headlines. But one thing is clear: Steven Seagal's life is far more complicated than any action movie could ever capture. If you found Steven Seagal's journey as surprising and tragic as we did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. What do you think happened to him? Can someone like Seagal ever truly make a comeback, or is his fate sealed? Leave your thoughts below. Let's talk about it.